Hi everyone, my name is Megawati Key. I'm the Regional Director for Google Cloud Indonesia and Malaysia, and welcome to our conversation. Today, I'm very excited to welcome our good friend, Tommy Sullivan. He's the CTO of Vidio.com. Thank you so much for coming, and how are you?
I'm good. I'm doing well today.
As part of our discussion today, would you like to introduce yourself and your company to the audience?
We're a streaming platform that started around 8 years ago in Indonesia. And so Vidio started out just to help people consume news and has gradually grown over time into the streaming platform it is today.
Can you tell us a bit more about the streaming culture in Indonesia and what's unique about our market here?
Sure. So one thing that differentiates Vidio from other streaming players in the region is the fact that Vidio does have a strong base of live streaming, right? And not just video on demand, right? And some interesting sort of examples there is we've definitely hit in AFF, we hit around 2 million concurrent watchers.
Wow.
And we were hitting around 4 terabits per second in terms of bandwidth. We were using Google Cloud as our streaming as our server platform at the time.
Yes.
Once you're hitting those levels of bandwidth, the problem isn't Google Cloud's capacity. The problem is the internet capacity of Indonesia.
Yes.
That's something that we have really succeeded recently in the most recent World Cup. We didn't hit any buffering issues across all of the ISPs here.
Fantastic.
Which was because we were, very carefully monitoring and rationing people's bandwidth.
Out of curiosity, what type of video streaming, other than sports, right, is actually resonate most with our audience here in Indonesia?
Indonesians like local content. And so
because of the language?
I think because of the language, I think, it's not as fun to read subtitles, certainly.
Well, how are you working with Google Cloud so far to provide the best solution for your audience?
Sure. So, Google's a reliable, secure cloud provider that is rock solid in terms of stability.
Thank you.
And we have been using GCP to scale up and down depending upon the load. We also leverage spot instances, preemptible instances for very cost-effective infrastructure, right? An area where we use that a lot is on our data processing.
Okay.
And so that's because, someone can run a query, we spin up, 50 boxes, it answers the query and then they spin down. We used GCP Jakarta for data sovereignty laws, right? Because we didn't want any processing of the data
outside the country.
Exactly. And that opened up doors with regards to partnerships because as you know, before you engage in any partnership, everyone goes through all of the legal and if you can
prerequisites,
and if you can assure them that the data complies with ComInfo and Indonesian laws, it's much smoother there, right? So that's where our data processing has been happening.
What's next? Because right now a lot of talk in the news is about AI, generative AI. Have you been thinking about how to possibly test that, use that?
Well, generative AI is very exciting and it certainly has a lot of conversation. But before we go into like AI in general, just machine learning in terms of recommendations is critical to video, right? And that's an area where we feel like we have a long way to grow. And we're using TensorFlow, we're using the chips that Google innovated, the ASICs, for creating our current versions of recommendations. One thing we're just onboarding is also Google's sort of recommendation engine, which I believe is Google's retail API, which is exposing your recommendation system, and we're A/B testing, comparing our recommendations versus Google's as a service. So that's a very exciting area for us because Google GCP, given it's connected to Google Analytics, it's connected to our Google Workspace. Being in that ecosystem has helped Vidio quite a bit in terms of smooth integration between those products has been useful.
Interoperability, right?
Yeah.
And it's a very seamless experience for you and, of course, your audience as well.
Yeah.
How would you think that it will impact the Vidio.com business going forward? Having great technology is one thing, but what is the outcome that you hope to expect?
We have a large content library that's growing, and we need to make sure that we're getting the most appropriate content for each person.
Okay.
And so it's basically
Can personalize it, yeah?
expanding on personalization and making sure that everyone gets the right experience for them. And so that's something that we see as key to our business, and we're investing in going forward.